Hi, this is Anna, and this is Check It at the Round Table, where we discuss movies, books, music, and stuff. Today we are discussing health insurance abroad. Yeah. So, as some of you might have heard from my holiday Christmas video that I did recently, health insurance is something I've been battling, waging war with over the past month. So, when I left the States, I had Health Price Marketplace, which I talked to the people at Health Price Marketplace, and they were like, you're leaving the States, but you're only gone temporarily. You don't know what you're going to do. So for this next while, you don't need to worry about it. But if you do decide to stay through next year, you're going to have to cancel the health insurance marketplace because we do not handle health insurance if you're living abroad permanently. Well, a year passed, and I love it abroad. I'm like, I will go back to the States to sort out a couple things when I'm done with my college studies here. But until then, I don't plan on going back to the States, and I'm only going back to visit and take care of some things fleetingly because I love it abroad. I'm like, I'm not exactly sure where I'm landing abroad, but I love it over here. I'm like, why would I go back? I like it here, and I can message all my friends back in the States. This all works. So anyway, health insurance. There were several options. So when I got done with Marketplace, which I have to call here by the end of this month and tell them I'm not going back to the States, you can cancel my coverage. I had many options, but most of the options are made for people with much larger incomes than me, apparently. Because, like, I was looking at one option here online, it's like, this health insurance is $200 a month. And I'm like, you know, this is supposed to be health insurance for college students that live abroad, but I don't know many college students that can easily fork over $200 a month. I'm like, that's a large portion of my income a month, even with, tutoring a lot. I'm like, I'm not spending $200 on health insurance. However, I finally found a health insurance company that offered coverage in the country that I'm living in, and I found out that they are like $1,000 a year. So I decided to go with them. That's way less than $200 a month. I'm like, I can do $1,000 a year, and they'll let me pay it in installments. I don't have to pay it all at once. I'm like, it's still going to be tight because I'm going, well, I have some in savings, but I'd like to keep that in savings. So this month I'm like trying to do a mild spending freeze. Although you wouldn't know it from the last 2 days when I've spent an excessive amount on beverages for being sick. I'm like, I bought a lot of vitamin water. But anyway, I'm like, it's okay. The vitamin water is not going to tip the scales. But I did decide to go with the installment plan. Now, I did have another option that I could have paid all at once, and it would have been maybe $300 less. However, I did not go with that option. The reason is, when I talked to the person that had the insurance, they were not the nicest of people. I do not mean it bad. They were not the crankiest of people either. But they started to kind of get cranky at me because I didn't have a bank account in the country that I live in yet. And they were like, well, you need to do this and this and this. And I've lived here for almost 20 years and I know all this. And I'm like, I don't mean it bad. But when people start talking down to me, it's not really good. Now, this person has no idea, unless they're watching this video, which is highly unlikely, that they made me a little twitchy. But when I got off the phone, I was like, you know, even if I have to pay $500 more for insurance, I do not want to get insurance through someone who is going to talk down to me on something that is unrelated to the insurance. I'm like, whether I get a bank account or not is really not that person's business in this country. I'm like, yeah, it would make getting insurance easier. I could just transfer funds to the insurance company. I totally get that. But I'm like, I don't like being talked down to. I'm like, I've never liked being talked down to, but I'm in my 30s now, and it's like, if I don't know it already, trying to talk down to me about it is not a good way to get me to do it. If anything, it's going to make me dig my heels in and not do it at all. I'm going, most people don't know that though. It's like, one of my friends I was talking about was like, I'm a pretty calm and even-keeled person, and I'm pretty nice in general. But when people really jerk me, they do get kind of surprised because they do hit a wall. And it's like, I don't mean to have a wall, but it's like there are reasons for the wall. Sometimes they're to protect me, sometimes they're to protect other people, and sometimes they're just because some people are twerky. And it's like, when they're twerky, they're twerky. So I decided not to go with the person who was twerky. I don't know if that's a word. It's like irritating in a weird fashion. Twerky. Okay, I've coined a new word. But anyway, so I went with another insurance salesman who was very nice, and he's like, Anna, we can handle this. However, I got a message back because I sent in my application. I'm perfectly healthy. I don't have any big problems. I do have a little bit of a cholesterol thing, but not a big deal. It's just genetic. I'm like, I'm a little bigger than I want to be, but not by much, just a little. I'm like, I walk, I'm going to start jogging. Once I get my knees worked into it, it's like, actually my ankles, that's the problem. But anyway, I'm like, I'm going to get more fit as time progresses. This is just a phase. It's okay. But I get a message back, and the insurance guy's like, Anna, I'm so sorry. But because you are 1.5% over our BMI level, you have to pay more. It was going to be like 35% more, but I got him talked down to 25% more. I'm like, it's okay. I still think it's kind of silly because I'm like, 1.5%? Really? That makes it go up that much? But okay. So I've paid for my insurance. I even opened my bank account here because I was like, it will be easier. I could not get the portal to work on the insurance. It's like I was supposed to click through to this portal to pay the bill. So I tried my one debit card. No go. Says cannot complete transaction. I try my other debit card, both of which I know work perfectly fine and have money in the account. I'm like, it's not a money thing. Again, payment fails. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to bust loose and get the darn bank account because it would be easier. I can just transfer the money via the bank account. I will get a debit card for that account. I can use the debit card to make my payment, and every month when I pay my rent, I don't have to pay a huge conversion fee chargy thingy. I'm like, I'll save, about, I don't know how much a year, but it will be quite a bit by not having to pay for the conversion thingy. So I went and I spent about literally 4 hours getting the bank account this month. And then I came back home. I tried the debit card. Still did not go through the portal. I'm like, last week, middle of the week, I was about ready to fly a flag. I mean, no offense. I'm like, I have tried 2 to 3 debit cards. I have tried the new bank account debit card. Nothing is working. I'm like, this is the only insurance option that I can feasibly afford that makes sense, and I'm not going through the cranky guy. So I'm like, twerky guy. We'll say twerky guy. I'm like, I'm not doing that. So I'm like, middle of next week, I was going, after I spent the 4 hours at the bank, I then went back to the bank. I put in some money that I got at the ATM from my debit card into my bank account. Like, if this doesn't work, I'm done. It's like a message insurance guy, and they're a very nice person, but I was like, you know what? I've done this. I will transfer the money via the bank account. If this doesn't work, I really have no idea what to do next. I would love to get health insurance. I would love to get health insurance through this company. But if it proves next to impossible, I have done everything I can possibly think of to make this work, and I'm out of options after this. I mean, I was more concise in my message, but I was like, I really don't know what to do if this doesn't work. And then I came home and I was like, for a moment, I had about 15 minutes of panic. I was like, what if I'm without health insurance? What if I don't have coverage? What if? And then I calmed down for a moment. I was like, Anna, you have not been gravely ill in your life. Well, that's not entirely true. I did get step and staff together one year. That was horrible and required a large recovery. And I did dislocate my pelvis one year. That was also horrible and required a long recovery. But that was when I was younger. I'm like, I have not, and I did get COVID 3 times, but that was stuff I could handle at home. So I'm going, I have not been gravely ill and need to go to an emergency room or have a hospital stay in my entire life. I'm going, so the odds of me having anything happen that would require me going to the doctor for anything more than like my $30 visit that I pay out of pocket anyway, because like I get sick or I get food poisoning or something like that, I'm like, is slim to nil. So I calmed down. I was like, after 15 minutes of freaking out, I was going, you know, I've tried to get health insurance. If this doesn't work, I'm just going to chillax about it. I'm going to take time, maybe a couple months, look at different options. If I still come up empty handed, then I might just spend this year without health coverage, which is not a good thing. I'm not saying that you should have it without health coverage. I'm going, I live on my own. I don't have any kiddos yet. So if something goes really wrong, it's not a big deal. And I really don't see it going really wrong. And even if it did, where I live now, the cost would be infinitesimal compared to what I'm used to in the States. I'm like, I had a friend of mine who went and had surgery and was in the hospital for several days. Their bill was like maybe $700, $800. Not a big deal over here. And that's what the hospitals say. I'm like, I think I just need to chillax. I was like, if I don't get the health insurance and it proves impossible to get the health insurance, I'm going to use that money and go on a health insurance vacation. So most of my friends was like, how we were talking about going to country X here a while back? Well, since you brought it up, I think we could go. And even if my health insurance comes through, we can still go to country X. But I'm just like, it's not an X-rated country. I'm just saying, using it as a random example. So anyway, I was like, I chillaxed about that. And the thing is I'm like, I do now have the health insurance. Yay, the coverage went through. But it was a good experience for me because I'm going, I freak out about some things. Not many things. Like most things do not freak me out in life. I live my life pretty zenful through the most of it. I'm like, there have been some things in the past couple of months which have been freak-outable, health insurance, some other stuff I had to deal with, but I'm like, those would be freak-outable for 99% of the population, so I'm not feeling too bad that they freak me out. But the thing is with the health insurance, I'm like, it's such a crazy deal. We live in such a crazy world, and coming from the US, I'm so used to having, astronomical medical bills if something goes wrong. And I'm like, here, I don't have to worry about it. It's like today, I'm not feeling good. I'm a little sick. I have a bit of a fever. If it continues, I'm actually going to the doctor on Christmas. I'm like, it's not what I wanted to spend my Christmas, but I'm going, I'll be off. The doctor will be open. I can go in. They can check my throat and see why it's hurting, if it still is. I'm like, I don't think it will be. I'm going to be silent here in a bit. I'm going to be drinking my vitamin water. I should be perfectly well. I'm going to have my chicken broth soup. I'm like, I don't think I'll need to go to the doctor. But if I do, it will literally be $30 and then maybe another $15 to $20 at the pharmacy. And that will be perfectly fine and all I need to do. Now, if I was in Taiwan, I do miss Taiwan. I like Taiwan. It's like my favorite country. I mean, I'm sure there are other countries that will be my favorite before this journey is done. But I'm like, I really like Taiwan because if you fall sick in Taiwan and you don't have health insurance, you go to any clinic, they get you in within like 20 minutes. The doctor talks to you in English and you have your translator, so you have it in Chinese if they don't. And traditional Chinese do not do simplified. It makes them a little upset. Don't want to make anyone from Taiwan upset. They're delightful people. So anyway, I'm like, and if you do get sick, it's maybe $15, and that includes your medication. I'm like, I discovered that last year, around the same time, actually the week before this time last year, because I got sick like about 4 to 7 days after I landed in Taiwan. It was not good. I was like, what's going on? I'm sick in a foreign country. It could be a massive bill. So I messaged my friend and she's like, Anna, go to the clinic. I've even found you one off the MRT. It will be fine. It will not cost you an arm and a leg. So I went and I'm like, I get back done from that and I'm going, not only do they have one of the best healthcare systems in the world, I mean, really, it's like top 3 to 7, depending on what scale you look at, but they also are so reasonable. I'm like, I came out of there and I was like, I love you, Taiwan, even more. So, with healthcare, it's tricky. It's difficult. And what I would suggest doing this over again is I would probably research the health care a few months before you run out of your other service, just so you're not making this somewhat mad dash about a month before the health insurance runs out, because that was no fun. Check it at the round table. Bye.